call the Alexander County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. This is the meeting of February 3rd, 2014. The first thing on the agenda is the invocation, and it's going to be done by Commissioner Judy Moose and Burkie Jennings, who is me. It was a while ago. Anyhow, I'll be doing the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody would please stand.
Tonight I would like to share a verse that was in a Christmas card that David and I received this past Christmas. It spoke to me so personally when I read it that I cut it out, put it on the refrigerator for a while. Then later I put it in my purse, in my checkbook, which I visit pretty often. And I would like to share it with you tonight. How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the strong. Because someday in your life, you will have been all of these. This is a quote from George Washington Carver. Thank you. Now, Burkie, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Judy. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We have a special recognition that we would like to do at the beginning of the meeting tonight. You will notice that there are a few veterans here, and I am one, but I can't wear my hat while I'm up here. But that's beside the point. I think Ginger Annis, who is the Veterans Service Officer for Alexander County, if you would step to the podium. She's also the chairman of the Veterans Committee. And Ginger, it's all yours.
Okay, for the last several years, well, the last 3 years, we've done a Veterans Day celebration out at the ACHS Auditorium. And we've been lucky enough to be able to feed the veterans, and last year we actually fed everybody that was there that wanted to stay. Dr. Jeffrey Peal is on our Veterans Committee as well, and he has been instrumental in getting the chicken for us to cook for everybody. Last year, he actually did the cooking himself and got the people to serve. So I'd like for Dr. Peal to come forward, please. And if members of the Veterans Committee would please join me up here too.
That wasn't in the script.
I know. Surprise. The plaque reads, "The Veterans Day Ceremony 2013, presented to Dr. Jeffrey P. Peal, in grateful appreciation for your efforts and dedication. The Alexander Veterans Committee honors you for making the 2013 Veterans Day Ceremony a success."
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
I was against it first, but
Burkie.
Do you need another?
Everybody kind of stand up here in front of the podium and get the podium out of the way.
I'm going to put this right there. You
Here,
can.
I'll stand behind Ginger.
No, you don't have here.
you have to come to the legal.
They will get up here in front as soon as somebody can see you.
Never misses an opportunity.
Okay, there we go on three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
If you want anything done, get this group on it because they make things happen.
Commander, I won't be at the meeting.
Burkie, you need to tell what's happened to Ryan and Larry.
I will.
Okay, I didn't know.
I just wanted to offer a comment about Dr. Peal, and those of you who have been to the veteran ceremony out at the CHS auditorium. Last year, we had the best attendance we ever had. We had probably about 400 or 500 people there, and we fed everybody. Historically, we would only feed the veterans themselves and one family member, but Jeff, I don't know what chicken coop he got into, but he got enough chicken for everybody, so we fed everybody. And we could not do the event to the extent that we do it without him. So that's why we recognized him. So he just did a fabulous job and always does. And he is a member of the Veterans Committee. So I just wanted to add that. You may notice that Larry is not here. He is indisposed this evening and will be probably for a few days. And Ryan had a death in his family, so he is going to be a little bit late. So it fell to me, as being the former vice chairman and chairman, to chair the meeting tonight, which is fine. We have the commissioner's report is next on the agenda, and I wanted to welcome our newest commissioner, who had just been sworn in probably 30 minutes ago, Andrew Ferguson. And Andrew has extensive background, but also he has some comments that he would like to make tonight before we start the meeting. So Andrew, if you want to go ahead and make your comment.
Thank you, Burkie. Acting Chairman, fellow commissioners, Mr. French, and most importantly, the citizens of Alexander County, thank you for receiving me this evening. My name is Andrew Ferguson, and as previously stated, I am your new county commissioner appointed to the board to finish the term of Darrell Robinson. I shall be at work in this position till at least December. My background is fairly unique. I've been a soldier and a scholar, a policeman and a prisoner, a father, a farmer, an educator, and an entrepreneur. I was appointed to this board by some of the most conservative members of this community, despite and perhaps because of my background, and picked over some individuals who were remarkably well experienced in traditional county leadership. The mandate by the selection committee is clear. I was picked to ask hard questions that need to be asked but aren't, to question business as usual, to question infinite growth versus a very limited ability to pay for that growth. I was picked to examine facts and without emotion, prejudice, or loyalty to special interests, make decisions that suit the best interests of the citizens of Alexander County, now and in the future. I was picked to provide a fresh perspective, to bring new approaches and not to repeat old mistakes. I was picked because I'm a fiscal conservative who believes that the citizens of Alexander County deserve responsible stewardship of their tax money, both now and in the future. I was picked because I do not believe that taxes, the lifeblood of governments, are given to the government. They are traded to the government in exchange for services. At this very moment, I would predict there are many citizens in this county questioning the reason for, the growth of, and the need for all these services that we currently maintain, and whether it will make sense to continue them at the current level and cost. Alexander County is facing a storm of significant problems. Our past and current projects were projected on a perpetual revenue growth rate of 2%. That has not happened. Our population is shrinking as our young people migrate out of the county faster than it could be replaced. We do not have working-age people or families migrating in due to the lack of opportunities. Even as our population shrinks, our composition is changing. By 2030, 15 years from now, it is predicted that we'll have 1,000 fewer school-age children, but we'll have 2,500 more citizens over the age of 65, a good portion of whom will be on fixed incomes. One of the sources of county funding, for instance, our sales tax revenue, is flat or potentially declining, with little indication of significant improvement. We're facing the possibility that our other major source of county funding, the property tax revenue, may be lower than when we were reevaluated in 2015. These problems are not unique to Alexander County. They're affecting all rural counties throughout the United States. Still, in light of this, our county government continues to grow in size. Do not blame the county administrators. They are dedicated, hardworking people who care about providing the citizens of this county with the best possible service. The ones who care the most want to broaden service and capabilities. It is the nature of bureaucracies to grow until forced to do otherwise. The problem with this idea is infinite growth cannot exist with finite resources. At some point, something has to give. The bottom line is there's a storm on the horizon, and I might not be much of a sailor, but I surely understand that the time to prepare for a storm is before it hits, not during or after. We are too inclined to be reactive, almost as if we're looking at our feet as we walk without paying much attention to the trail ahead. If there's ever a time to be aware and cautious, this is it. Meanwhile, the county politic gets caught up in silly, wasteful squabbles, as if this was a sporting event where the only thing that matters is if your red team or blue team is winning. Personally, I dislike politics. It's too much like acting to me. So I'm very disinterested in playing the red versus blue game. Judging by the number of independents in this country, it appears that there are a lot of others that are tired of it as well. I'm tired of finger-pointing the blame game. If we go back far enough, say 20 years, and examine the record, I'm sure that we can find plenty of mistakes committed by a multitude of players of all political stripes. I am willing to listen and be fair, and I will be willing to do the right thing regardless of who suggests it. I will not compromise my conservative principles in doing so. I take my mandate very seriously. However, as much as I dislike politics, I do like the challenge of preparing for the future. This is my home, my community, and a place where I want my daughter to grow up. I have been around the world, but I chose to come back here for a reason. I am doing this job, and to me it's a job, to prepare the county for both its long and short-term future. This preparedness should not be based on hope. Hope is not a strategy. In my opinion, the county's preparedness should be based on this thing called sustainability. We have hope for the magical growth fairy to revisit us, to return from its hibernation, for the so-called recovery to arrive in Alexander County. It hasn't arrived, and it may never arrive to the level for which we have hoped. Thanks heavens for the industry and the businesses that are riding with us as they navigate through these difficult times. There are a lot of citizens out there that are hurting because of this lack of recovery. We have a lot of long-term unemployed who have simply given up. We have a lot of underemployed citizens barely getting by. We have a lot of citizens who are working longer, harder, and getting paid less. And here we are, in government, local, state, federal, asking the citizens to give more. Trust us, we say. We have a vision, we say. You can carve up a little bit more to make the future brighter, we say. I'm not so sure that that trust is deserved. I'm not confident about the clarity of the vision. Some of our most vulnerable citizens just can't provide any more. Someone confided in me that we are paying for the sins of our politicians' past. I agree. There have been some errors in hindsight that look pretty obvious. I am not so much concerned about where we have been or how far we've come as much as I am about where we're going. We need to think about beyond this year and think about the future. If our county is shrinking, if our revenues are getting smaller, then it seems like our first priority should be to reassess and reduce the size of government rather than ask the citizens for more and more, especially when they are less of a condition to provide for it. For too long, our policy of growth in this county has been to keep up with the Joneses, in this case, the county that surrounds us. Alexander County is not Catawba County. Alexander County is not Iredell or Caldwell or even Wilkes. Perhaps it's time to quit looking at our much larger neighbors for a template for the future and focus on ourselves and what is best for us. These counties are going to have their own fair share of problems to deal with here pretty soon, problems that would be very, very difficult to fix. We have a chance to get our house in order. We have a chance to right-size ourselves before the crunch. But if we do not start now, we will be in an extremely difficult and compromised position. That time may be sooner than we think. In the end, I'm not so sure that I'm going to be liked very much. Apparently, asking questions and recommending a change in the way we do things in this county is considered impolite. Well, I'm okay with that. I would rather be disliked for doing the right thing than liked for doing the easy thing that feels good right now but may increase our problems in the long run. So here I am. I'm ready to work. I cannot change anything by myself, regardless of the very high expectations of those who may have appointed me to this position. However, I challenge my fellow commissioners and county administrators to take a deep breath and think about what's in the best interest of the citizens of this county, not what is in the best interest of their own departments or pet projects. Real leadership means doing something right now, even unpopular things, rather than hoping for the circumstances to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferguson. Excuse me. Does any other commissioner have anything, Judy, do you have anything you want to report?
I would just like to add this to what he has just said, that no commission or persons has ever been successful that dwells on problems. It's the people that are successful that dwell on solutions. And that's what I think this commission's about.
Anything else? Andrew, do you have anything else? No, sir. One comment that I'd like to make as to what Andrew said. There's 5 of us here on this commission. 3 typically outvotes 5. But I would like to see all of us, all 5 of us, work together to solve the issues that are coming before the county. Because we do have some serious financial issues to face and to address. And so we'll just see how the discussion goes and the voting goes, and the folks that outvote the other folks are the ones that win. But the thing that's most important, we are here to represent the citizens of Alexander County. That's why we were voted in. That's who voted for us. And my intention is to, and I hear from citizens all the time, every night, just about all the day. Are you going to raise taxes? Are you not going to raise taxes? Are you going to cut this? Are you going to cut that? The only way we can get to the heart of the matter is the 5 of us discuss what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to do. But we do represent the citizens, and that's what I'm going to keep in my mind when we vote on the issues that are facing us. And I hope the folks that are listening to us tonight, if you have any feedback, input, call any of us. You can get in touch with any of us. My number's in the telephone directory, Judy's number's in the telephone directory, Andrew's telephone number's in the telephone directory. So is Larry, and so is Ryan Mayberry. Call us, let us know. If you don't want to call, write me a note, write us a note. Call Mr. French, he's the county administrator, and let us know what you think. Because this is probably, and I'm paraphrasing what Mr. French has said. He said it today, matter of fact, when we met with our CVCC advisory committee at lunchtime today. In his, I think, 17 years here in Alexander County, is that correct?
15.
15?
Yes, sir.
This is the most difficult budget year we have ever faced. And I see Mr. Kaywood shaking his head. He was there today. So it's going to be a difficult time. And we're all not going to agree on everything. But the bottom line is that we have to agree on the majority of things to keep this county moving forward and expanding, especially in the manufacturing base. I see Mr. Cal Kane sitting in the audience with Craftmaster, and it's important that we keep the major manufacturers here. It's important that we train their workers, and so that is on our mind, and we are aware of that. And so I just want you to know how I feel about the issues that we are facing. And I see representatives from the Health Department and DSS sitting in the back too. We have your interests at heart because you serve the people. And you're at the grass level of serving the people. And we'll have to keep your operations in mind. And Russell Green, Emergency Management Director, Sheriff's Department, all these different entities that serve the county and serve the people the community college, the schools. See Dr. Womble in the back. So we've got a lot of work to do in a short time, So that's my comments. The next item on the agenda is the public comment period. And the first person on the public comment agenda is Darrell Seaford, who is chairperson of the Republican Party in Alexander County. So Darrell, if you'll go. Excuse me, thank you. Just 1 minute. I jumped ahead. We have to adopt the agenda first. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I so move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. The motion has been passed and the agenda has been adopted. Now, Darrell, if you will come to the podium, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Like Burkie said, I'm Darrell Seaford, chairman of the Alexander County Republican Party, and it's not often that we have the job of having to replace a commissioner, so it's not widely known what that process is. And I'm just here tonight to just try to explain what that process was that was followed when we chose Commissioner Ferguson to replace Darrell Robertson on the county board. When a commissioner resigns, it's the executive committee of the political party of the commissioner that resigns to replace that commissioner. As a party, we follow the plan of organization of the North Carolina Republican Party, and we voted at our county convention in March of 2013 to adopt this state plan of organization as our county plan of organization. The plan of organization states that the executive committee consists of the officers elected at our county convention, which was March of 2013. Those officers consisted of a chairman, vice chairman, secretary, treasurer, 5 at-large members, 2 5th district representatives, and the finance committee chair. Now, all of these executive committee members were sent registered letters notifying them of the date, time, and place of the meeting night when we would be considering the candidates to replace former Commissioner Darrell Robertson on the county board. For election to the board, it requires a majority. And there is 12 members on the executive committee, so it required a vote of 7 or a majority to be elected. And if nobody received a majority on one vote, then the bottom candidate was dropped and we proceeded to the next vote. We had a meeting a week before our meeting to pick the new commissioner, and I just explained the process that would be followed. So everybody knew when you come to the night to pick our new commissioner, they knew in advance how the process was going to be conducted. And each candidate was required to be nominated by a member of our executive committee. And each candidate was allowed 5 minutes to speak. And after each candidate spoke, time was allowed for executive committee members to ask questions. Now, after all of the candidates were nominated, and the candidates had their time to speak, and all the questions were asked, we proceeded to our votes. And we we conducted our votes, and each time there was one dropped off whenever the did not receive a majority. And after the process was completed, Andrew received the majority vote to be voted as the next commissioner. I just want to make a personal comment that I appreciate the job that each one of y'all have to do as commissioners. It's not an easy job, and I appreciate the fact that you put yourself out there willing to work for our community. And I just want to let you know that each one of you are in my prayers, and I appreciate what each and one of you do. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seifert. Next on the public comment period is Glenn Mays. Mr. Mays, if you will step forward, please, and then you're going to talk about the Independence Day celebration.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. French, Ms. Starnes, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk about tonight an event that's being planned for this July the 4th. And it's going to be quite an exciting time. As my count, I believe it's been about 35 years since we have actually had a full July 4th Independence Day celebration here in Taylorsville or in the county. That's not to discount the Vashti celebration. But what we're planning is one that we hope that'll bring everybody together from all over the county, but not just that. We want to have an event that will bring people from all the surrounding area to come here and celebrate Independence Day. That's not necessarily the ideal thing for this particular one. We'd like that to happen, but we're looking at a goal of from 5 to 10 years from now that this actually will be the place where people from all the surrounding area will want to come and celebrate the Independence Day. It's one of the, we're looking at it in view of what the Citizens for the Future of Alexander County has stated. One of the 4 initiatives that we have is travel and tourism development. This event would be in keeping with that. What we're planning, and this, as I say, this is still the planning stages, but some of the things we're hoping to do is to have a flagpole dedication at the administration office complex, the county office complex. That would be done by the American Legion Post 170. And we plan to have a parade. We plan to have games. And those games would be all sorts of games like marble shooting, horseshoe pitching, cornhole, whatever you can think of. We're trying to put together a variety of games, sack races, 3-legged races, things that we recall from years ago, that people had a lot of fun doing that. So we want to bring that back too. I just spoke today with Joey Ferguson at the golf course, and he was very excited about the possibility of having a golf tournament in conjunction with the Independence Day celebration. We also want to have music, and there's already been one band, whenever they heard that this was being talked about, they've already approached us and said, we'd like to participate. So we're looking for other musicians to be a part of this as well. We're looking for vendors also. We want to have vendors for craft vendors, food vendors, art vendors, that sort of thing. The Lions Club, we spoke to them the other night, and they are interested and very excited about the possibility of having lawnmower races. They also offered their facility for some of the events that we're talking about. Also, as a fact, in addition to that, the lawnmower races, we also are thinking about having a road race, maybe early that morning before it gets too hot. And then The two other events that we were thinking about is having a flag retirement ceremony. Maybe we can get the Boy Scouts to do that. We've not been able to approach them. We've not approached them yet, but we will. And hopefully that will be a project that they can take on. And then we want to conclude the day's celebration with fireworks. So you can see it's a very full day of activity in order to celebrate our freedom and our independence. What I'm asking for tonight is not money. I wanted to allay any fears that we're going to ask for money from, you know. We wanted just to make you aware of this and to announce it to the public through this forum, but it'll be announced in many other forums as well. But to let people know that we're going to be approaching civic organizations and churches, individuals, and everybody in the county. We can all get together, have a wonderful time on Independence Day, and celebrate our freedom. So I thank you very much for your time and for the opportunity to speak to you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
In public comment, we don't.
Oh, you
ask
don't?
questions.
Okay, well, very good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. The second item on the agenda is a public hearing rezoning case 14-1, Linda Mayberry and Seth Harris, County Planner. Seth?
Thank you, sir. This is rezoning case 14-1. The applicants for the case are Linda Mayberry, Raymond Mayberry, and Nadine Pennell, who are all heirs of an estate. The current zoning district is LI, which is light industrial. The proposed zoning district is HC, which is highway commercial. The current land use is a vacant residential home. Proposed use is commercial in nature. The subject property consists of 3.71 acres. Land uses within 100 feet include to the north vacant property, residential property, and a church. To the south is the railroad, and then further south beyond that, just south of Highway 90 is the EMS base, the DOT location, DMV, that sort of thing, to the southwest of the property. To the east is industrial property, which is Carpenter Company. And to the west is light industrial, which is Sype Wholesale. The subject property was zoned light industrial when countywide zoning was adopted in 2001. Public water and public sewer is available at the site. The zoning ordinance says the purpose of the light industrial district is to provide for mainly manufacturing uses. Purpose of the highway commercial district is for retail and service type uses. 2008 comprehensive plan does say the area is to remain primarily as industrial in nature. Traffic data for 2012 says the average daily traffic count for this section of Highway 90 was 5,400 trips per day. Per our usual practice, letters were sent by first-class mail to all property owners within 100 feet. And we did receive some calls from Carpenter Company. They were concerned about access and that sort of thing to Highway 90 and how it would affect their truck traffic. Received a call from back on Ezekiel Avenue, the Ratliff property. They were concerned about, it doesn't show up here because it's not in the request, but there's a triangle piece above the Carpenter track that's a portion of this property too that the advocates want to remain RA20. But anyway, the Ratliffs were concerned about that piece of property. Otherwise, no complaints about the proposed use. Staff does recommend approval of the request due to the following, which is similar to nearby zoning districts. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on January 2nd, 2014 to review this rezoning request. The recommendation was to approve the request based on similar adjacent zoning districts. Based on the information provided, the Board of County Commissioners must determine whether the rezoning request meets the guidelines set forth above and is reasonable in regards to the public interest. The Board of Commissioners must consider all uses within the requested zoning district, not merely the use of which the applicant proposes. You will look at, if we go back one slide, Chad. This is the adjacent zoning districts. You can see primary light industrial, that's the purple color on there. RA20 to the north and a little smidge of red to the south is the EMS base and that complex there. Go to the next slide. You can see Carpenter Company to the east. Next slide. This is a picture looking at the home there. the property owners have intents of removing the home in the future. Next slide.
Is anybody living in the home?
No, it's not habitable. This is looking west towards the EMS base. You can faintly, barely see the EMS sign there. You can see SAP wholesale to the right-hand side, and the railroad tracks to the right-hand side also. And that's all. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Seth, what would be the advantages of having this zoned highway commercial as opposed to light industrial, or what's the differences?
That's a good question. It's been zoned, it is zoned light industrial. They've been trying to sell the property for several years now. With a tract that small, it's kind of really hard to market it industrial use, besides the neighbors, obviously. Highway commercial is a little more marketable. It could be open to more uses, such as any kind of retail use, professional type use, doctor's offices, that sort of thing. A little more doable on that size tract.
Okay.
And you say in the notes here, you received one call requesting information about the request. What was the nature of that call? Just
Well-
general information?
It was. One was the Ratliff property to the north, concerned about that track, which isn't really part of the request. And then a representative from Carpenter Company was concerned about how traffic in and out of this property would affect their truck traffic and turning out of their property. That was really, nobody was directly opposed to it.
It would seem to me, just looking at the map, there wouldn't be any problem with their truck traffic going in and out of that.
I agree with that, but I think there was a perception on their part that it may, like a gas station, for instance, might interfere with their truck traffic.
Anybody else have any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second to that? Second to the motion to close the public hearing? Second. Have a first and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, raise your right hand. Do I hear a motion to adopt the property for rezone?
Mr. Chairman, I move to change the rezoning of the current property from light industrial to highway commercial as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Approved. Thank you, Seth. Number 3 on the agenda is a public hearing. Approval of road names. County Manager Rick French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item number 3 are road names, and this is a public hearing to staff requests the approval of the following road names as listed below. All names meet the regulations as required. Names have been checked for duplication, sound indexing, etc. Brookfield Place, C.G. Stein Lane, Poppy Lane, Squirrel Run Lane. And the locations are stated in your information in your packet.
Any questions from any commissioners of County Manager Rick French? Is there a motion to close? Any questions? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing.
And I second it.
First and second has been made. Is there a motion to adopt the road names?
Make
You
a
need
motion.
You need to
Go
call
ahead.
for the vote. You need to
On
call-
closing.
You need to call for the
Oh,
vote.
yeah,
on
excuse
closing.
me. Yeah. All in favor of closing the public hearing, raise your right hand. Now we'll try this. A motion to adopt the road names.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the road names as is.
And I second it.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Mr. French's road names have been approved.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is number 4, Craftmaster Furniture Grant Announcement. David Icenhour, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to announce to you that the North Carolina Department of Commerce's Rural Division has awarded a $480,000 grant for the benefit of Craftmaster Furniture. This grant will be applied to the property which we commonly refer to now as the former Broyhill facility on Highway 90. But, of course, looking forward to that being known as the Craftmaster facility in the very near future. This grant, you may remember, has been a long time coming. This board approved this application in June of last year. We originally applied to the North Carolina Rural Center, but shortly after the application was put in, we received a positive response from the Rural Center. However, there were major changes occurring between the Rural Center, the state of North Carolina, so we were unfortunately on the end of a cycle that the grant program was suspended and no funds were dispersed, and we were extremely concerned that this grant would be revived or not. But fortunately, the North Carolina Department of Commerce has created this new rural division. They picked up these grant applications from the Rural Center, and we have received, like I say, confirmation that they have awarded this grant to Alexander County and to Craftmaster. The grant will actually come through Alexander County and then flow on a reimbursement to Craftmaster as they complete renovations of the facility. Tonight we have with us Mr. Roy Calcaine, who is President and CEO of Craftmaster, as well as Kevin Mann, who is Vice President of Operations. I'm going to let Mr. Calcaine come up and just give you a brief update of how the project is going, and following that, if you have any questions about the grant process itself, I'll be glad to answer those.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Commissioners, thank you for having me over tonight. Appreciate the opportunity to say thank you for everybody that was involved with this grant process, especially David Icenhour, the EDC, worked tirelessly over the past 9 months or so in putting this grant process in place and seeing it through to the end. It was a period of about 4 or 5 months that we weren't really sure what was going to happen with this grant, and thankfully the Commerce Department took over the Rural Center and did award the grant to Craftmaster. Just to kind of give you an update as to where we are, the grant money is about $480,000. It is tied to job creation. We've committed to 48 jobs at $10,000 per job for this grant money. We have about 2 years to create those jobs. We feel we should not have a problem based on our current business trends. The business at Craftmaster has grown once again. Last year, I think I stood up here and kind of reported a nice growth that we had in 2012, and I'm happy to report that our business has grown again in 2013 by about 15%. Our employee base over the 7.5 years I've been with the company has gone from 400 employees to about 535 employees today. So we've had very good growth. We're very fortunate to be in the position we're in, and frankly, we're very proud to have acquired this building, which was really an eyesore for the community. Everybody that drove by that building every day saw how dilapidated it had become. As a matter of fact, I made a presentation to our owners of our company a couple of weeks ago in High Point, our main office, and presented them with slides of before and after photos of the plant. When we looked at the photos, I actually said to Kevin Mann, who's here tonight, our VP of Operations, why did we buy this building? It was in such bad shape. But we've come a long way. We closed on the building on May 31st, took ownership of it, and the goal was to be in the building by the end of the year, at least in the warehouse portion of it, and we did accomplish that by the beginning of December. We fully renovated the interior of the warehouse, 80,000 square feet, established a racking system that will hold 4,000 pieces of furniture ultimately. The entire exterior of the building was refurbished. We removed the green windows that were in the facility, replaced those with brick, and painted the entire facility, did roof repair, HVAC repair, replacement. The entire lighting system in the plant's been renovated. We've taken out the old energy inefficient lights and replaced with the new T8 lights with some help from Duke Energy. We did get a grant from them as well to help offset some of that cost. Entire fire sprinkler system has been updated and replaced, a large part of it. So to date, we've spent about $2 million, frankly, refurbishing the building to the current state. We probably have another $500,000 to spend to get it up to where we need it to be. The goal is to set up production by the end of March, and we're going to have 3 production lines that we're going to take from the 2 existing Craftmaster facilities over in Hiddenite to jumpstart the building. We're going to move those lines into what we call Plant 4, or the old Broyhill building as it was known. So they will be set up by the end of March. We're putting a conveyor system in currently. It's about a $150,000 conveyor system, and we plan on producing by the end of March, those 3 lines. The goal by the end of the year is to have 6 production lines up and running, and ultimately that plant at one time had 14 production lines running at 375 employees. So we've got plenty of room to grow in the company. Our business, like I said, has been very strong. We were at capacity prior to the purchase of the building, so the timing was right. The building came on the market at the right time, and we purchased it at the right price, so it was a win-win. We're committed to the county. You know, we've had an opportunity to move outside the county. There's other buildings in Iredell or Catawba County that were available, but we've made the commitment to this community, and our company has grown. We're probably the single largest private employer now in the county, I would say, and I appreciate all the support that the commissioners have given us and David has given us. In addition, we're working with CVCC currently, with Darrell Robertson and Rick French and the CVCC folks by putting a training program together to essentially, our biggest challenge today is finding and hiring skilled upholsterers and sewers. We've added probably 30 jobs this year alone in that category, and we could probably add another 30 or 40 jobs within the next 6 months, but we're struggling to find the skilled workers. And we've been talking and working with CVCC for the last year or so, and I think we're getting very close to putting together a training program that will essentially take young folks, folks that want to learn a skill, and go through a 15-week training program to learn how to be an upholsterer or sewer, and get a certificate and be available to work, you know, within our industry, whether it's Craftmaster, Mitchell Gold, Hancock and Moore, whatever furniture companies in this county or another county. And we're excited about that opportunity to see this through to help us continue to grow our business. We cannot do it without, obviously, the employees with the skill level. So if there's any questions, I'd like to say thank you, appreciate it. Again, thank you to David Icenhour.
Mr. Calcain, I just wanted to give you we've heard, or I have heard nothing but good comments about, you know, the building down there, so it looks great. And
Thank you.
My family is from right in that area, so really looks good. We appreciate it.
We're proud of it.
And can't wait to get the training program up and running. I know we've been talking about that for a long time, and the new expansion of CVCC is going to be a good thing for the county.
And it's a win-win, Ryan. Obviously, it'll help us fill our jobs, can help us continue our grow business, but also I see so many young people coming out of high school that maybe are not college-bound that are struggling. They're not staying in this county. You see the demographic on the demise of the young folks living in this county as far as moving out to other areas, and it's a shame. And we've got good-paying jobs that, you know, sewers can make $13 to $18 an hour, and upholsterers can make $15 to $25 an hour. And we've got the jobs, but we're not finding the folks with the right skill level. So it's a win-win, and we're much closer now than we were a year ago with the program, and I feel really good about you know, working together with CVCC and the county to make it work. So.
And you, if you recall, you actually shared the rough draft of that training program with me, and
We did.
it really looks good, so
Well,
we
thank you.
appreciate it.
It was developed by the management of Craftmaster, operations and manufacturing management team. We've actually laid out a work cell environment for the training program, and we feel really good about it, so thank you. All right. Thank you all.
I'd just like to thank Craftmaster and you and your management team for staying in Alexander County
Yes, sir.
and becoming the largest employer, because goodness knows we need it. And as you have alluded, having one of my summer jobs was working at that broil plant many, many years ago, but it's completely different. It used to be that you could, trained workers dropped out of the trees because people would migrate from one plant to the other for a nickel or a dime or
True.
a quarter
Yep.
an hour raise. And so I know it's hard because those people have aged out and it's hard to find people. So your commitment to stay here, your commitment to help us work to develop the program at CVCC is much admired and much appreciated.
Yeah, you're welcome. The furniture business is thriving. I mean, everybody knows case goods has moved offshore to China, Vietnam, but the upholstery business is not going to be replaced by Chinese imports. We're a Chinese-owned company. We do import some products from China, but I can tell you that the upholstery manufacturing, especially custom order, which is what we're good at, is here to stay. And Catawba County is seeing the same growth in the furniture business. So the young folks of the county, the surrounding area, can rest assured there are jobs here, and there will continue to be jobs here in the furniture industry.
Can I ask you just one maybe procedural question?
Sure.
How are you going to find the applicants for these vacant positions? Are you going through the Employment Security Commission? Are you
No,
advertising directly? I mean,
Frankly, we haven't gotten that far yet, but my thought is that we basically announced that we are going to have this training program through CVCC. It's a sponsored program for CVCC. And have an open house essentially for all the young folks that want to come and hear us speak. I'll be there, our manufacturing people, the CVCC people will be there, and question and answer. And I believe we will have a very good turnout because I know there's so many young folks that need good jobs, good careers, and we'll have them. And essentially it's about a 15-week program. And what it'll do for us, Burkie, is to give us we do our own on-site training. People walk in, they don't have a skill. We've trained those folks, but the success ratio is probably 25 or 30%. Our feeling is once a candidate goes through the training program and they get 15 weeks under their belt and they're certified, they'll come out with a certificate for upholstery or sewing are the two main jobs that we have available now. That these folks will be able to walk into a furniture factory and they may be 60 or 70% of where they need to be at the right skill level, but it'll be far ahead of somebody just walking in the door off the street. So we will welcome that certificate with an open job, and we know that person, one, they've shown the dedication to a 15-week program, they've stuck to it, they've graduated, and they're going to be 60, 70% proficient in that skill. We can take them up to the 100% level, we feel within 2 or 3 months. So where we would spend 6 to 9 months training somebody and having a success ratio of 30%, we believe that this program will develop a crop of young people coming out that will have a skill level to walk in our door, and we'll take them the rest of the way. And same thing for Hancock and Moore or Mitchell Gold or Vanguard Furniture in Catawba County. I speak to a lot of the presidents in our industry, and we all have the same issues. So I know Catawba County's unveiled a program recently, similar program. But honestly, we don't want our people driving to Catawba County. You don't want them to leave Catawba County. They buy lunch in Catawba County. They may shop in Catawba County. When they're coming home from work, they're buying their gas in Catawba County. So the jobs are better kept in this county, obviously, and we know this will work. Like I said, while the economy is going through some difficult times, our industry has bounced back, and especially our company. Our company has grown 50% in the 7.5 years I've been with the company, and that will continue. So, like I said, we're here to stay. We're here to help the growth, and we need the help back. We need the folks to help us run our business. So,
one more quick question. Excuse me, Judy.
Okay, go ahead.
If someone has been out of the workforce for a while, but they had been a trained sewer, they'd sewed for many years, what would you recommend that person to do as far as craft masters?
well, frankly, they can come and apply today, and we'll test them. We'll see, what their proficiency level is, and if they're still, it's a skill you typically will not forget. We'll hire them right off the street with that experience. So there's jobs out there.
Okay.
Is there going to be a fee for this 15-week program, or are you going to pay them, or what's the deal there?
Not sure yet. Those details haven't been worked out. Again, it's a CVCC program. It's not going to be a Craftmaster program. And I think it's important to make that distinction because we don't want our other furniture manufacturers in the county to think it's a Craftmaster program. It's really a furniture apprentice program through CVCC. At some point, my jobs will be filled, or I may not have 30 jobs open. I may have 5 jobs or 10 jobs a year. It's critical that the rest of the furniture community endorses this program because I need, Hancock and Moore to hire these folks, Mitchell Gold to hire these folks, Taylor King. And like I said, these skills certainly can translate to jobs in Catawba County. So I'm not sure the answer to that question. I'm sure there'll be a fee. We may go as far as offer scholarships at Craftmaster, where we'll pay whatever that fee is to get a graduate and with a commitment maybe of a year or two after the graduation to work for our company. So those details have still to be worked out.
Thank you.
One more question. If things were in alignment today, how many people could you hire today?
I would say we could probably hire 20 to 30 today with upholstery and sewing skills.
Okay.
Those are the main functions that we need.
Okay.
But honestly, with this facility, we're committing to 48 jobs over the next 2 years. This time next year, I believe that plant will have 100 jobs in it. So, and again, it just depends on how our business continues to grow, but we're in a very good position in the marketplace, our company is today.
So you're thinking at least 48, but probably more like 100. That's good news.
Correct.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate your
Exciting
support.
news.
Thank you, Mr. Calcan.
If there's any other questions about the grant, I'll be glad to answer them. Otherwise,
Thank you, David.
thank you.
Dr. Jeff Peal, Safe Schools update.
Commissioners, Ms. Starnes, Mr. French, thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. And listening to people speak tonight, commissioners, Mr. Calcain, everyone else, we're faced with tough times in a lot of ways, but tough times just calls for tough leadership and people are willing to make tough decisions, and I applaud you for all that you do. And we have a great community, and I feel certain that all of our people can work together and do great things for our community. And our Safe Schools program, if you will, or plan or group, or I'm not sure exactly how we'd want to phrase it, but it is a microcosm of people working together and collaboration. And I'm very proud of the work that we have done in keeping our children safe and securing our buildings. A lot of stakeholders have been involved in this process. We've had a lot of partnerships that we'll talk about tonight just briefly that have grown stronger and deeper. Our principals and school staffs have become better and better and more aware. But we have always had safety as a focus, but we have, since our intended focus in the last year, we have, Chad's not getting my signal back there. He told me just flip the page. There we go. We have revisited and looked at some things that we wanted to ensure that without a doubt that we could say we've given everything our best look to make sure that our children and our staff are safe. And part of all this process is that, you can get very, very complicated about a lot of things, and you can, build fortresses, and you could build bunkers, and you can do a lot of things. But our guiding principle all along has been be safe and use common sense. And I think that we have done that. I know that everyone remembers sending children to school, perhaps today, perhaps a few years ago, but everyone sends their children to school and expects their children to be safe. It's the number one list of duties that educators are to do, is to we're to maintain safety and we're to keep children safe. dare think that people drop their kids off at school and they feel confident that we're going to keep them safe. And we want that to continue that. So it's not only a moral responsibility, but it's a legal responsibility as well. And it's what good people do for good people. You know, we take care of each other. But last year, on December 14th, a lot of things changed in the school safety world, just like it did years ago when Columbine, last year we had a massive school shooting, and a 20-year-old fatally shot 20 children and 6 adults in a huge mass murder at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. That got the attention of a lot of people. And I would say that we had that attention prior to that, but again, our attention intensified at that point. But we all remember, I know where I was over in the western part of the county, and I called Dr. Womble. I said, gosh, you see on the news what's going on? I mean, people just everywhere. That was a terrible, terrible event. But unfortunately, a lot of people give it a lot of attention then and forget about it. When the media coverage dies down, when the sensationalism goes away, people seem to forget. Well, we weren't about to do that. We knew that there was going to need to be action, but we didn't want a knee-jerk response to the situation either. We wanted to do things that was going to be meaningful and beneficial. But we wanted to prepare our people and our school system for such tragedies. And the Sunday after the events took place, Dr. Womble called together sheriff, chief of police, myself, several of us were in that initial meeting, and we just had a discussion. You know, that's what people do. You talk about things, and you look at the facts, and you offer what you think might be solutions, and you get a game plan. And that's what we did, and we concluded that we're pretty safe, but there are things we're sure we could do better. But out of that meeting, the product became a Safe Schools Committee. And that committee has done a whole lot of work in evaluating and assessing and planning for the safety of our school. And again, I'm really proud of this group. They represent collaboration like you could never imagine. They represent working together to get great things done. Emergency management, the sheriff's office, the police department, the school system. Mr. French has been very cooperative. And I heard Russell Green, if I've heard him say this once, I've heard him say it 50 times in different meetings, but he said that, you know, that's just how we do things in Alexander County. We work together and we take care of people, and our safety committee is no different. And I would be terrible if I didn't recognize the members of our committee. Several are here in attendance tonight, and I want to call them out by name. Dr. Womble, Sheriff Bowman, Tony Jones, Russell Green, Karen Brixke, Dale Robertson, Todd Jones, Douglas Bowman, Chad Pennell, David Moose, Gordon Knight, John Rowe, Mike Millsaps, Tyler Rowe, Rosanna Wisnett, Dr. Chad Maynor, Susan Campbell, Renee Mead, Brian Lewis, and Kimberly Fry. I want to tell you, these folks have met once and twice and sometimes 3 times a month for the last year, and we've assessed buildings, and we've evaluated buildings, and we've looked at plans, and we've done a whole bunch of stuff, and their work is to be commended. And Russell, if you would please come up here. Russell's sort of my partner in crime, if you will. He helps me a little bit with this presentation. But our first meeting was January of last year, and we've...
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
If you go back to the slide of the members.
Sir?
I don't see a member, and it's a question, I don't mean to put you on the spot by asking this question, but why wouldn't you put let's say the president of the PTO on this committee?
Because the president of the PTO typically is not aware of the intricacies of the safety plans and lockdown drills and the procedures that go along with the fire department and the sheriff's office and some of those things. We've received feedback from those folks, but they've not been on our committee.
Okay.
Good question. But in that first meeting, we looked at the things that we were doing, and we examined our incident management plan, and that, we refer to that as our flip chart. And school people know what that is, police know what that is, but virtually not a lot of other people do. So we analyzed every process of that flip chart. We've looked at safe school plans. We've looked at the data from our lockdowns that we had been doing previously. We had been doing 2 what we call lockdown drills a year for the last 10 or 15 years. We don't call them lockdowns anymore. We call them code in and downs. But we've done monthly fire drills. We do the semi-annual fire inspections, the severe weather drills in March. And, you know, we, again, concluded that we were doing a lot of things really well. And we decided that we were going to take a more intense look, and we wanted to evaluate these processes, not only what we said we were doing, but we wanted to evaluate the processes in action. So our first business was what was then referred to as a lockdown drill at West Middle, and we just watched it unfold. We had a group of people who was on the scene, and we evaluated every part of that process. We offered feedback, we made suggestions, we've changed some processes, and it's been really, really good. We did that at every school last year. We're doing it at every school this year as well. And through that, we've assessed facilities, we've assessed access, transportation, a lot of different things, and we've made some excellent procedural changes. Somewhere late winter, early spring, I met with Mr. French, who was very cooperative and has worked with us throughout our journey, and shared with him sort of what our short and long-term objectives were. And from that, we developed a plan, and the immediate action was going to be that the simple things. We're going to tighten up on who was in our buildings and what we knew about who was in our buildings. And we're going to have strict sign-in and sign-out procedures so that we always knew those people. We were going to do a community alert now to let parents and community members know that safety was a big priority for us and that our procedures were going to be a little tight. And when they went to a school, it may take them a few minutes more in entering schools. We wanted to review all those procedures. The black box, which is a critical incident box, has numbers and names and maps and all kinds of stuff in it in the event of a disaster. We've evaluated all those boxes and made sure everyone was in good shape with those. Began to, at that point in time, investigate cameras and buzzers, and we started analyzing the information that we were getting from our evaluations that we were doing. So our early long-term strategies then became, well, and again, these were brainstorm strategies. Some thought, well, perhaps there need to be more SROs. Some thought maybe need to be some physical barriers built, and we've addressed those physical barriers in our facilities plan. Some mentioned cameras. Cameras were a unanimous factor at every school, and we have done that. Camera installation has been completed at all schools except the high school, and that's going to be budgeted for next year. We've put front door buzzers on every school except the high school where you have to buzz in and buzz out. We've gotten a lot of compliments on that. That's been a big feature for us. We're in the process of a fob on the outside, which is a digital code that'll get people keys to the building, say sheriff's department or fire or whatever. And if we ever have any breach of security with that, we can change the codes. And that's tied in with a panic alarm that I'll talk about here in a little bit. The lock boxes, again, are part of that fob. And the panic alarms, we've submitted grants, and we feel certain that we're going to get the grants, and we've worked with Tim Dawson and Protective Security in doing that. But it'll be 2 at each school, which is a push button directly to the sheriff's office. So hit the button, that means get the cavalry en route. So we're really looking forward to that. Obviously, there'll be a lot of training that goes along with that. And I said earlier, we've looked at access points for schools, entrances and exits and such. But Russell is going to share with you a little bit of the research that we've looked at and some of our initial planning.
Before I hit those slides, let me say my hat's off to Dr. Peal, Dr. Womble, Renee. Dr. Peal's leadership with this group's been great, but more importantly, our schools were doing a great job prior to Sandy Hook. They were doing 2 lockdown drills a year since Columbine, and that's not something that was being done across the state. But Dr. Peal's leadership with this group, I think we've moved forward. My hat's off to the staff at each of the schools. because every time we go out and assess a school, we see something a little bit different. We learn something. We heard a comment tonight about having someone from PTO. We always ask for feedback from staff because the staff are the ones that have to deal with those kids every day. So my compliment tonight is to the staff at each and every one of our schools. They have done a tremendous job with this. We were just refining the process as we went through, and it's been very positive, I think, across the board within the school system. Our slide, National School Safety and Security Services, we found out we were hitting all the marks, just the things that they recommend. There's a big piece in the middle of the slide. Each school district, individual schools within various districts, they've got to develop their own plan. You can't cut and paste a plan from another school to your school because it won't always fit, it won't always do what you need, and a lot of times it'll lead you to more liability. And we don't need any more liability for our folks. We need to be doing what's right for our kids. Many school officials need to improve school emergency preparedness. That requires more time than it does money. We've had a great partnership, a great group going around. And again, I'm going to compliment one other person, and that's Mr. Dale Robertson, Maintenance Director for the school system. You go through a school and you say, that door needs to be locked. The fire marshal says, well, it can't be locked from here. Law enforcement says it needs to be locked. Fire marshal says it can't be locked. And more times than not, the maintenance person, Dale's got the answer. He'll find where that compromise is we can all live with. There's a way to do it. There's a way to route things. So Dale's been an integral part of that as well. Chad, if you'll go to the next one. Some of the other things we've been able to do with schools in the past couple of years, and some of this was prior to Sandy Hook. Several of our school administrators last summer did a multi-hazard emergency planning for school administrators, and that's an emergency management course from FEMA. We brought an instructor to the Board of Education during the summer, did a great job with that class. The other classes the other class that was held just prior to that was an incident command class that we teach all of our emergency service folks in the fields. Our school administrators sat through that class. So when that incident were to occur, if it were to occur, they'll know what's happening. They'll know what emergency services is doing when they show up. They'll understand that process. So again, compliments to our school system. Prior to some of this, we had some crisis teams in place, and over the years, they've kind of fell apart. And one of the things we've learned from this is we need to redevelop those crisis teams. And that's something that Ms. Mead and Dr. Hefner are part of, but those are local ministers, counselors that can come to the school in that event. Russell's theory here is we can't stop the bad thing from happening. We can train to minimize its impact, and that's what we've got to do, and I think our folks are doing a great job of that. We've done the in and down. We've got a consistent code countywide, so we all know what it means. It's code in and down. That means lock the doors, turn out the lights, and duck and cover. At the high school, we did that drill. 1,500 kids out there. It's noisy. I don't care what time of day you go out there. It's noisy. 20 seconds, not a sound in the building. And I'm not exaggerating now, Dr. Peal. 20 seconds, 1,500 kids, total silence.
You have accomplished something that the world can't do.
They just do that for the code ins and downs, trust me. But 20 seconds, it amazed me. It literally amazed me when that happened. But we always branch out. And again, my hat's off to that staff. Mr. Lewis out there, he's on this committee and he travels around with us. They've got a unique situation. They bring elementary kids to their campus for that auditorium. They may have 600 elementary kids on their campus in addition to the 1,500 they have in class every day. So it's a unique institution out there, and they do a great job with it. Again, Dr. Peal uses my phrase, I travel across the state, I've dealt with folks. I actually participate in a conference call with the Department of Public, DPI, Public Instruction, right after the Sandy Hook, and we talked about some of the things we were doing here. And now they're doing it in other parts of the state. Dr. Peal and I have had the opportunity to go listen to Lieutenant Colonel Grossman. Those stories are horrifying, but they are reality in our country, and that's a scary thing. Coming up in March, we have an opportunity to go hear what some of the other counties are doing, and I'm hoping we'll be able to take some of our law enforcement folks and Dr. Peal, and we'll be able to go hear that. My message tonight is our school folks are doing a great job. They've worked very hard. We're meeting those national standards. We're doing what everybody, all those experts out there say we should do. It's not about what they say we should do. It's about what's right, and I heard Commissioner say this earlier. It's about what's right for our kids in our county. And that's what this committee's accomplished. I'm proud to be a part of this committee, but I can tell you my hat's off to those teachers out there each and every day that deal with that. Every day. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have of me before I turn this back over. But like I said, travel the state, and I hear people say, I can't work with the superintendent's office, I can't work with transportation, I can't work with these folks. That's not how it works in Alexander County. That's not what we do here. We work together to make things happen. That's why I love calling this place home. But we get things done when we have to get them done. Tragic incident in Connecticut, we hope and pray it never happens in Alexander County. But I do believe our staffs are ready to do the best job they can if that were to happen. Any questions of me before I give it back to Dr. Peal?
Well, Dr. Peal, you can come up. Russell, you stay put because I still want to go back to the PTO or the parents' input on the plan.
Absolutely.
And after all, and the reason I ask that, and I don't want to take a whole lot of time going into this, but after all, your parents and the students are your quote-unquote customers. Those are the people you're serving with this safety plan. Analogy would be if we had issues with customer service where I came from, we would brainstorm with customers about what we weren't doing right and what we weren't doing wrong. So I'm just wondering, why not? Has this been socialized with the PTO?
Yes, and the PTO and school advisory committees and school leadership teams, which is comprised of all of the people that you've mentioned, have input into the Safe School Plan, which is part of the school improvement plan. So they have a piece in the process. They're just not serving on our code in and down teams and our emergency teams.
But they have an opportunity to have input.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
That was what my question was.
Yes, they have lots of opportunity for input.
Okay.
How long has this sign in, sign out for visitors at the high school been in place?
Well, there's always been a sign in and sign out. We've gotten a lot stricter with it in the last year.
In the last year? Mm-hmm.
And the name badges and knowing who's on campus at all times. In the high school, I mentioned a little while ago that we were bidding high school cameras for next year. The high school already had a series of cameras. They've got cameras, interior cameras and some exterior cameras already. So it wasn't that they didn't have them and we just let them go. They already had a camera system in place, as did Taylorsville and East. They had some functions of camera, and Hidnight had a couple cameras, and we've incorporated those cameras in the new system as we've refitted and gone along. But yes, those folks have lots of opportunity to give input.
Okay.
We've discovered some barriers. There's some obvious barriers that, Mr. French can attest to, our mental health access and the availability around here. I mean, it's people that are mentally disturbed that do these kind of things. And we have no control over that. We can't limit the acts of violence that children see on TV or listen to on the radio or the different pieces of media and the culture that thrives on this. And we have no control. We can influence, but we don't necessarily have control over our society, and schools mirror society. So what's going on out in the community is going to be coming right into the schools. And then some other barriers that, some things do cost, and we've budgeted and we've planned and we feel like we've done some things really, really well. And I want to go back and simplify that, things that we feel like that were simple is limited access, locking doors, requiring ID badges, having those protocols for maintenance and other folks, adjusted blinds, seamless partnerships that we've developed, a consistent language throughout the county, and just knowing who's here and who's not. Things that we felt like a year ago were going to take a long time, but actually have not. We thought the cameras were a real long-term piece, but picture came together, literally, and we've been able to accomplish most of that. We felt like the front door buzzers was going to be a long-term piece, but we've been able to accomplish that. Cameras and buzzers at the middle schools, that's been accomplished. It's in the process of being done at the high school. To add to their existing camera system, we've added fencing and physical barriers at the high school that have assisted there as well. I mentioned the panic alarms earlier. We've got CAD drawings in process of all of our buildings, not only for the rooms and hallways and those things, but shut-offs and gas lines and electrical boxes and all those things. Sheriff's Department, Chad Pennell's developed a virtual black box. It's a program that goes into in the computer on the car. Universal building labels are in progress. We're working on a Safe Schools website, and we've given 911 and Russell's office access to the cameras at all of our schools. So that's a feed that goes into them. But we're going to continue to make safety our #1 priority. We wanted to have this forum tonight to share with you what we're doing and to illustrate the fact that it's serious business for us. We have a fantastic partnership. We take any input that is certainly reasonable, and we're going to continue to assess and analyze and get better. And we appreciate you letting us speak here tonight, and hope that you conclude that we have, this committee has done some great work, because they have. Any questions?
One last question. What socialization or what presentations do you make to the students at these schools to let them know that these processes are in place and the administration's being vigilant on school violence and so forth?
Great question. The principal and school staffs do a really good job on teaching safety and safety drills, and they go through all that at the beginning of the year and work through things, and they go through the drill, and then we assess all their work that they have done when we come in and do the tornado drill or the code in drill or the code in and down. And we've had several situations where we've had to go into real drills because of law enforcement activity that was dangerous and in the area, and actually our cameras picked up a suspect that they were able to apprehend later on. So, but we principals and staff do a lot of that, and then we assess the training that they've conducted with their people to see the real deal and the fruits of their labor.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Peal, I got several questions here, if you don't mind. Well, one, you were talking about students. Is there a clear avenue for students to report a possible threat from another troubled student to the administration, or do they know what to do? Sometimes kids don't do like adults would, and they're unsure about who to approach.
We feel like they do, and we've had several incidences in the last year where students have reported. We've had a pretty serious issue with a weapon on campus at one of our schools. Students told us about that. Another one where there was some pretty serious allegations that a child was making, and students told us about that. So we feel like our school staff, for the most part, they have fantastic relationships with kids, and kids are very willing to let our adults in the building know whenever things are not going the way that they're supposed to. Very unique. Kids have a lot of trust for the adults in the buildings here.
Good. I know this was a big part of the discussion after Sandy Hook, but, and I'm sure this came up in your meetings, but staff carrying concealed weapons, was that discussed at all? And, what was the?
Well, the state law kind of limits what we can do there. And as you know, it changed this year that if you're a concealed weapon permit holder, you can have a weapon on campus. It has to be locked in a vehicle, though. Prior to that, it was a felony if you had any kind of weapon on campus, and still is if you're not a concealed permit holder.
But there's not a I guess a avenue for administrators to do that. That would have to be a school resource officer or a deputized person.
Yes,
correct?
within the confines of the current law, it would have to be a school resource officer or police officer highway patrol. And that's been an amazing part too that I didn't talk about. Our sheriff's office, our police department, our highway patrol, increase visibility of law enforcement on our campuses has been tremendous.
Also, have you thought about putting panic buttons in all the classrooms? And was that a part of the discussion?
We've not thought about putting them in all the classrooms. We are currently in the process of putting them in 2 places in the building. The panic button in all the classroom, that in every classroom has not been discussed. There's, I guess there's some logistical pieces to that, but that's never really been a point that we've discussed. But there will be one in the office and one in a remote location in the building for the immediate panic button.
Well, as someone who visits a couple of the schools pretty often, 2 or 3 times a week, I am happy with the security.
Thank you.
And I feel like it has really improved in the last year, especially. But anyway, I'm happy because I've got a bunch of grandkids in schools, and I'm out there a lot. You're not going to get in Stony Point School until you identify yourself. That door will not unlock.
And the best part of it is when that lady talks to you, you go like that, and we
Yeah.
get your mug shot.
Yeah.
Dr. Peal, did you have a question?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the things that I think is a common thread to a lot of these school shootings is the bullying aspect. And I didn't hear any addressing of that issue. So is there any concentration via the school guidance counselors on, sometimes a kid that is bullied is afraid to go admit they've been bullied and so forth? Is there any movement, training on bullying in the schools?
Yes, sir, and that is a fantastic question. Bullying, you reach that point is where kids will be kids and where kids will be bullies. And there's a definite difference. And for too long, people would say, boys are going to be boys, and, and things were kind of accepted. But the child that's receiving that bullying, it becomes a nightmare for them, and they get pushed to unreal limits. But we have our Rachel's Challenge was a big program. The girl who died in Columbine and her legacy. We have a 4 club at the high school and each middle school which deals with bullying and bullying issues. We've had new bullying policies. Our counselors have, worked on different aspects of bullying, and we try to, address the bullying issue and along a lot of different fronts.
I will admit to this. My daughter, who is 43 now, when she was in junior high school, she was bullied. And I took it to the administration, and that's many years ago, so I'm not faulting anybody. Dr. Peal, and Dr. Womble don't take umbrage to this. But is there a process that it is strict enough that and what I had to do with my daughter is transfer her to another school in another county, private school in Cadaba County. Is it strict enough that if a child is bullied, that they're going to get the assistance and the backup they need to stop the bullying?
I feel as though it is, and we've had a lot of success. Now, perhaps everyone on the street may not agree because they don't always have all the issues that are at hand whenever somebody says that they were bullied, and you start doing the research and, there's bullying going back and forth and the kids are just being mean to each other, and, one kid gets in trouble and tells his mom he was bullied and maybe perhaps wasn't. But in the real instances that we determine that there is actual bullying going on, I feel certain that we're addressing those needs and those issues, and we've got counselors working with those kids, and we're talking and working with parents, and and taking all the measures that we possibly can.
This is a rhetorical question. Is it me being too sensitive because I had to deal with it with my daughter, or is this an issue that y'all see in the real world, in the educational environment.
I would never think you was being too sensitive, but I do believe that there are issues, that are real issues in our world right now where people have been bullied, kids are bullied, adults are bullied, and it creates a threatening environment. And I think that, it's happened here. It's happened in our surrounding counties. It's happened all across America. But I feel like that we're doing a much, much better job of dealing with that and addressing it. But it is here. It's everywhere, and it's always been here. That doesn't mean we're not going to do something about it, though.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yes, sir. Dr. Peal,
Hey, sir.
I was teaching a advanced homeland security class at App in the spring of 2007. And the project that we decided to take on for the class was to independently review the Appalachian State Emergency Action Plan. So imagine our surprise on April 17th when we get a call from the chancellor and the chief of police of the campus security that VT had just happened. We had already started dissecting the Appalachian State Plan
Virginia Tech.
at Virginia Tech. And a Virginia Tech incident happened. And we were asked and tasked to produce 13, or as many as we could, 13 points. And we submitted that to the chancellor, and they have, over the last, and it took a very long time because the campus, as you know, is very large, and they've implemented all 13 of those steps. What you guys have done here in this county is remarkable, and it's wonderful.
Thank you.
From a campus security person, watching what you guys have done with the entry control procedures and the cameras and the target hardening and the crime prevention through environmental design that you've implemented on campus is great. Still, one of the things that we recognize in this field is this mental health issue is the weak link. And recognition of possible troubles by staff, by students. And I'm not saying that you guys don't do this. What I'm saying is I don't think any of us do this very well. I don't think that we have enough resources in place. I don't think that we have enough referrals in place. And even when we do, I think there are some social constructions that prevent us from perhaps embarrassing someone or getting someone involved that might be able to help some of these kids. That's the common theme that we've seen with these incidents, is a mental health issue. Is there anything that you have available to you in your toolbox, either through the North Carolina State Board of Education or anything, that a program that can be implemented for the staff and for the teachers and even potentially for the students on recognizing abnormal behaviors and threatening behaviors and how to mitigate that?
It's a long answer to a great question. We are currently, through our Communities and Schools program, working really hard with our Communities and Schools people, working with our staff on issues of those challenges that children have that you just are not normally accustomed to. We're in the process of hiring another person at the high school from a vacant position that's there. And they're going to be establishing the advisor-advisee programs where we're going to be assigning children to, in essence, a caring adult that's going to stand in a gap in their life. So we're doing some things along those fronts. We've utilized the Rachel's Challenge and the 4 programs to address the bullying issues. And I think probably on the mental health end, I think we know and learn a lot of those children, but nowhere near the number who are out there. For every hit list that we may find, there's probably 5 more. I don't know. I'm sure there are a lot more. So a systemic program per se on the identification of those issues we have not addressed, but I know that DPI does have some really good resources, and we've utilized them before. Billy Lassiter who's a gentleman that works at DPI, and he does a great thing. We've utilized him on bullying programs and recognition of those things previously. So that's a really good place for us to move forward on, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a tough challenge. We're all dealing with it in the educational environment about how to recognize. I have one last question, and once again, what you guys are doing with target hardening and the security access and entry control points is textbook. It's perfect.
But the bad guy may already be in the building.
There is that, and we've one of the unfortunate things about my job, my real world job, is anytime one of these incidents happens, I have to deeply analyze it. So anytime that there's a school shooting or any sort of violent incident on campuses, I have to analyze that, and we have to work that into the academic construction. One of the things that I'm kind of curious about, because dealing with what happened, the school that I know the best is Ellendale, which is a wonderful school, wonderful staff, wonderful school, wonderful principal, is they, rather than doing the panic buttons like you're talking about in the classroom, they decided to go the route of having individual radios assigned to the classroom and trying to get the entire staff of the campus on a radio net. What kind of radio interoperability do they have? If they're on an independent radio net where they have purchased it through PTO funds and they purchase radios for everyone on the staff, it just seems like we're missing an opportunity there to have connectivity with law enforcement or emergency management with the radios that are already inside versus the radios that are outside. There's a lack of connection there.
Outstanding question. We've tested, and Russell can address this probably better than I can, our radio capabilities and our telecommunication capabilities, it struggles in places. We have some pretty poor broadband signals, some pretty poor cell signals at East. We've just put 2 boosters in at East, and we're hoping that increases our opportunities there. We couldn't get a Viper to work down there. So to get all of those dots connected has been a challenge. And Russell, would you like to speak to that?
Dr. Peal, you're exactly right. It has been a challenge. One of the things we're learning about the radios, the walkies within the schools, those individual units, and every teacher has them. We tested those at a recent school assessment, and it's very limited. We do not have interoperability with those folks because we do not have their frequencies in our radios, and that's something that we need to be addressing in the future. One of the things that troubles me is we've got 11 different campuses and we've got 11 different frequencies. One of the schools that currently has radios in place, they actually operate off of 8 different channels, and it totally floored me when I realized that they were operating off of 8 channels within that one facility, but they've got a different channel for every grade level. They've got a channel for staff that's out doing yard work, general maintenance, and then they've got an emergency channel that they all flip to in the emergency. Their radio situation was to overcome a lack of capability within their phone system and their paging system. So the administrator wanted to test that, see how it worked. We learned a lot that day. Wasn't all positive, and none of these things are always all positive, but we learned a lot that we think we're going to be able to overcome. But very good comments, and we don't have interoperability with those folks. We really don't. When we first started talking about locking the doors, one of the things we learned real quick, if we lock all the doors, law enforcement can't get in. So we equipped all of our sheriff's office equipped all of our deputies with center punches. And simply a center punch is to take out the window so they can get in the building. And, you know, we've moved forward, and Dr. Peel's getting prices on putting in the lockbox so they can get keys when they get on campus, because you need to get in. So we're learning all those things, but those are very good comments about the radios. One school has radios in everybody's hands. We've got a couple that are working toward that, but again, we don't have their frequency. We don't have interoperability with them. We've got some radio limitations in our system. We've got a few of the 800 megahertz radios that were given to us by the state. Our system at Communications doesn't support that, so we're piecemealing that 800s piece. VHF we're pretty proficient with, but again, we're not interconnected. The short answer is we don't have that ability at this point.
We've actually found that our best and most reliable has been texting.
Yes, absolutely.
Foolproof.
Yeah, those boosters, we're really hoping those boosters we just installed at East are going to help some of those cell phone problems. But you mentioned Ellendale, so I'll pick on Ellendale. Once you do the code in and down, that administrative staff has got to reach out to each classroom and get a head count. Are you missing kids? Have you got extra kids? We've got to get that accountability piece. Ellendale was the first school, everybody in the office, every teacher's got somebody in the office they text. And within about 4 minutes, we had a head count for the entire facility, which was amazing to us. And we thought, well, we can duplicate that. We can if you've got connectivity, but unfortunately, all our schools don't have that. When you're in those classrooms, if you've got a different cell provider or a different service provider, you may not have that ability inside that classroom. So we're learning those things as we go. Again, it's a learning process. We tried a process at East was basically instant messaging on their computers. We thought nobody has to make a sound, nobody has to say a word. Well, the Google Chrome that they use within the facility, one-on-one messaging works, but group messaging is taking some manipulation by the IT folks. So, you know, we got a committee that goes out, but when we come back, all the IT folks hit the ground running to try to figure out some of those things. And y'all know me, IT's not my thing. The walkie-talkie don't work, somebody needs to replace it, because I can't fix it. But again, we learn every time we go out, and I think the real message here is to the parents, the school system's working real hard to make it as safe as possible for their kids. I have no problem, because my daughter works in the school system. It doesn't concern me when she goes to work. I know she's as safe there as she could be anywhere else. And that's again, that's the heart of a parent.
And the stats back you up, because you know, these incidents, as horrible as they are, they actually are so rare that from a risk assessment standpoint, it's very, very difficult to plan for. We try to overplan. We try to make all these great plans and systems, and sometimes these systems will fail us.
Yeah.
But it's more likely that someone under the age of 18 is going to choke on a hot dog than is to be victimized by one of these incidents.
Yeah. And again, back to my statement, when we started this process, we've got to train to be able to minimize the impact if it were to happen to us. And that's all we can do. And again, my hat's off to the staff. The group that goes out, Sheriff's Office, Police Department, we all work together well, and that's the great thing. Those administrators and those teachers in those classrooms, they're the heart and soul of what this does and what it means to our kids. And to me, that's where all the credit goes. It's those folks in those classrooms.
Absolutely. Very good.
Dr. Peal and Russell, do y'all have anything else you want to add before you?
We just appreciate you allowing us to share this evening, because we said earlier, we're really excited about what we've done, and we're proud of the body of work that's been accomplished and the things that have always been going on here. And, you know, I can look you in the eye and tell you with every measure reasonably possible, we're keeping our children safe, and don't second guess it, not for a second. Now, is that
We
foolproof?
don't.
No.
We don't. Judy don't.
And I agree with everything Dr. Peal just said. It's a work in progress, but it's a positive work. And
Right.
we certainly do appreciate the opportunity to share that with you tonight. And we know you've got a lengthy agenda, so.
Well, it sounds like you guys have really come together and done a really great job. Applaud everybody on that committee and everyone involved and all the administrators and all the schools. So, you know, you've done a great job, and I just want to give you a pat on the back for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And I see that next on our agenda, is she still here? Okay. 2013 State of the County Health Report, Leanne Whistman, County Health Department Director.
Yes. Thank you for this opportunity to bring our State of the County's Health Report to you from 2013. I will be brief as I can, because I know you do have a full agenda, and the full report will be available tomorrow. I want you to have first look at it. It will be available tomorrow on our website. It's about 13 pages, so I'm giving you kind of a abbreviated version tonight. You'll see on the next slide our services. I can never miss the opportunity to remind the community what services we offer at the health department. I know first on the list is immunization clinic, and we are known for shots, but that is very minor compared to all the other services we offer. So I can never miss an opportunity to remind folks that we do have a county home health program that, as we talk about economics and the need to keep services here, I have to remind people that many times you have to insist on Alexander County Home Health because our competitors are often in the hospitals, doing lots of marketing. So we are there. Our statistics are superior to many of our competitors. There are 14 other for-profit competitors that we compete with. So, you know, when you have to have that surgery or come out of the hospital needing skilled nursing, physical therapy, speech therapy, our folks are superb, and you just need to say, I want Alexander County Home Health, and stand on that. Of course, remember our dental clinic is in its 6th year of providing for children. Lots of other services. We won't touch on all of them, but we're there. We're not just there. I think a lot of folks think your health department's just there if you don't have insurance or if you have limited funding. That's not the case. We're there to serve everyone in our community, and we do that. So if there's a service you're needing, call us, and we'll certainly help you. On the next slide is some statistics. Very busy. I won't belabor it. I have to give credit to one of our high school students. William Chung actually put this slide and a lot of the report together. When lots of the other students are home sleeping in, William has been great to volunteer and come help us for the last year or better, and did a great job with this slide. I had asked him, let's look at historical data. Let's see how things are getting better or worse. And the point to this statistics is to see what is causing our citizens to die, and how can we prevent that? How can we improve those statistics? So, and we're actually doing that. Our focus areas on the next slide remains the same from last year, is healthy families. We're working on many areas to reduce our heart disease, and obesity rates in our children are at historical highs, not just in Alexander County, but across the nation. Mental health, as Commissioner Ferguson has talked about, has been up there at the top of the list for many, many years. Substance abuse, we put those two together. We are doing lots of work, more work in the substance abuse, because mental health continues to still be a challenge. We have difficulty finding services, finding providers for those services. And access to health care continues to be areas that we're working on. In the Healthy Families area, we have lots of partners. As you've heard all night, this is a great community to work together, and we work with many, many partners. The 123 Go Play is a campaign that is working. There's a website to help families find activities where they can be physically fit, nutrition information, lots of information to help their family, the entire family, be healthy. We've worked to promote our local farmers market and to teach the community to grow their own foods, support local economics here by those farmers markets, buying local, growing local, and increasing our opportunities for physical activity. Mental health, substance abuse, we have a task force that has many, many representatives across the different spectrums. We're proud to have a permanent prescription drop box that is very well utilized. Some of our students, as their senior projects this year, took on the campaign and have done great education within the high schools and the community, educating the student body about prevention and not using substances. Our students are bombarded with lots of external prescription medication, other drugs that, you know, there's something new every day that they're being bombarded with. So some of these students did a great job. Students sometimes will listen to other students, their peers, before they'll listen to us adults. But we have lots of work to do in that arena. We have just begun. Access to health care, as you'll see, these statistics compare us to the state per 10,000 population. So, for example, for Alexander County, for every 10,000 people, we have 3.2 primary care physicians as compared to 7.8 across North Carolina. And we could hit any of those. There is not one area of medical providers that's not underserved in Alexander County. Even as far as podiatrists, we have none that are here full-time. So psychologists, you can see very underserved, physical therapists, you name it, we're underserved. As your public health provider, we're always looking at grants and opportunities to expand our services. We actually have, in the last year, gotten preferred providers for 3 of the major insurance companies so that we can bill those insurance providers and provide different services, immunizations for one. We're going to continue to do that as hopefully more and more population is insured. And I wanted to remind our community it's not too late to get your flu vaccine. We are grieved to report that we've had 3 deaths from flu, attributed to flu this season. And for the last many years before that, we have not had any. So that is we're very grieved for those families. As far as our records indicate, those individuals had not been vaccinated. So I know there's a lot of people have taken advantage of vaccinations, but we've had a tremendous flu outbreak across the state and as well as Alexander County. The last total I saw for deaths for North Carolina was 44, 2 of those being children. And the statistics for all last year was 59 deaths for the whole flu season. And for 2011-12 was only 9. So as you can see, that's statistically up. And for Alexander County, we've had 3 deaths this season compared to 0 and 0 the years before. So we still have vaccine at the health department, as well as some of our medical providers are out, but several of the pharmacies still have vaccine. And of course, we have vaccine at the health department. So always looking at prevention, and I'm a strong advocate on vaccination, and anytime you can get a shot to prevent being sick, I'm all for that. And the full report is going to be on our website. And if anyone in the community has questions, feel free to call us.
Leanne, you were talking about the immunizations. I'm particularly interested in the shingles vaccine.
Yes.
For the elderly. It is expensive.
Very expensive.
Is there anything at the health department that can provide them for people that can't afford them?
We will certainly evaluate that on a case-by-case. We do that for any vaccine. We've had several this season that we've given flu vaccine that couldn't afford it and needed it. So
shingles vaccine.
Yep, we will not turn down anyone for lack of payer source. And that's exactly why we got on preferred provider with these insurance companies, because we weren't able to provide that very vaccine. It cost us almost $300 for each vaccine. And to not put that cost to taxpayers, we are aggressive looking at all payer sources. So, but if there's an individual out there, they just need to contact us.
Well, am I reading this chart, the leading causes of death in Alexander County, right, when I am assuming that the cancer rate due to death due to cancer is up in Alexander County?
It is, that's correct. And some of that, you have to continue to analyze. You look at, what's causing those sources. That cancer statistic is all cancers. So we are now trying to look and see, is there a particular, is it lung cancer? Is it, some of it is we're living longer. Some of it, a lot, is lung cancers. Is it because we, have chemicals? Is it because we smoke? Lots of different reasons for that data, but you're exactly right. That statistic is definitely increasing.
Well, I see that it has surpassed the heart disease, which normally heart disease is the #1 killer.
You're correct.
But it is now in Alexander County.
It is.
It's gone past that. Well, that's interesting.
Leanne, I was surprised to look at the access to health care and see that, dentists, pharmacists, optometrists, that were all, lacking in those a great deal compared to the state average.
Yes,
And,
and that's been pretty stable for, I've been here 25 years, and that's been pretty stable. It's a great opportunity for new graduates to come here and practice. And that's part of what we do too, is try to recruit. We have been recruiting a dentist over 6 months, and I'm proud to say we have one recruited that's gonna start at the end of June. A lot of times they have to finish a contract.
Right.
But very challenging. Lots of competition, you know, they can go elsewhere for greater salaries, unfortunately.
So all these numbers as far as access to healthcare, whether it be physicians, dentists, pharmacists, it's all been pretty much the same over the last 25 years.
It has.
So,
We've not made much progress.
yeah. Okay.
Having lived here for a few years longer than that, I know we really haven't made any progress, especially since we lost the hospital. It's really gone down, but the amount of dentists and pharmacists is stayed the same. I know in Bethlehem, which has grown in my lifetime, we have a pharmacist here from the Bethlehem area, but we used not have any pharmacists in Bethlehem because there was no commercial development in Bethlehem. But a question I have relating to flu, having recently suffered from the flu and having gotten a flu shot and still had the flu. The discussion I had with a friend of mine is, when is the best time to get a flu shot? Is it when the season starts, or in the middle of, when do you know the best time to get a flu shot?
As long as you get one, it's probably a good time. Ideally is October to January. I historically wait a little later to get mine. It depends on the individual too, and whether they've got chronic diseases. Let's say somebody with asthma probably needs to get theirs, or respiratory issues earlier. I'm kind of still old school. You know, now they're giving vaccines in July and August, and you know, the statistics say you may get 12 months of protection out of that if you have a really good immune system. I'm not sure who that is unless you're young children, so I tend to be that October to December person. It takes generally 10 days to 3 weeks to get protection from that. So you don't want to wait too late. Like now, it's not too late, because February generally, historically, is our worst month for flu. But if we get much further, it's not going to protect you till after flu season, hopefully. But great question. Not too late, but certainly October to December was ideal. And, you know, folks ask me that. I have that question. Okay, I had the flu vaccine, but I still got the flu. You know, there are other strains that's not always in the vaccine. And historically, if you're vaccinated, you're going to have less severe a case of the flu. You know, some people may be sick 10 days, have pneumonia after, be hospitalized, and we've seen how many deaths. But with vaccines, generally within 2 or 3 days, you're back on your feet and back to work. So still a proponent of getting those vaccines.
Thanks a lot. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
You do a magnificent job, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
And next, we have Cindy Holman, DSS Director. A PowerPoint and presentation and video will be presented regarding NC Fast, North Carolina families accessing services through technology.
Good evening. You've had presentation after presentation. I know you might need a stretch break. I'll try to be as quick as I can. I am sure that you have been hearing about NC Fast. If you've watched the news, you certainly heard about it. It's North Carolina Families Accessing Services Through Technology. NC Fast is a program designed to improve the way the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and County Social Services do their business. And it is an automated system that replaces multiple legacy systems that have been in existence for many, many years. So you can only imagine a system that has supported food stamps and Medicaid. How long have those programs been around? You know, when I was much younger, I was actually a food stamp worker myself, and we had paper applications, and it was a very long, drawn-out process. I got a computer on my desk while I was a food stamp worker, and that was in 1985. So that's been a long time ago. So some of these systems, in order to put them together and take one application, it takes a lot of doing. There's a lot of testing that we wish, all of us wish, our state partners, our NC-FAST partners, wish that we had been able to work out all the kinks in this system before it rolled statewide. And then, of course, we have the Affordable Care Act rolling right on top of the new automation. So it makes it a really tough situation for us. NC-FAST does introduce all kinds of new technological tools and business processes, and eventually the idea is that a family will come into our agency, they'll tell their story one time, and that they will be screened for multiple programs. Right now, and you're going to see a little video, the very next thing I have is, and we say, we have two big terms in the social services world right now. One is work support strategies, and the other is NC-FAST. NC-FAST is just one little component of work support strategies. What we're trying to do is look at our business at social services, think of our people as customers, and how do we best serve them, and how do we get the most productivity out of our staff. And so this is the vision for the future, and the work support strategies video, he's going to play it for us right now.
Good morning, Ms. Smith. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good. I hear you here with your food and nutrition research?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you remember to bring your paperwork?
I do.
Social services play a vital role in our communities. It touches everyone's life in some way, oftentimes in their most vulnerable moments.
Well, when I first came to DSS, it was like, you know, I didn't have anybody to keep my kids because I really couldn't afford it. My job was, I couldn't afford to have someone there to keep my kids, so I wasn't able to really go to work like talking about it. We weren't able to take them to the doctor. I mean, it was really a difficult situation. And now, I mean, things are so much better. The kids are having nutritious meals now. They have childcare, and now I'm able to get more hours at work. And I mean, my life, I would say, has just turned around completely, and I'm thankful.
Local DSS agencies are providing this level of service for customers throughout the state, in spite of a difficult economic environment. As things continue to change, we will need to change with them. Through the Work Support Strategies Initiative, we have a unique opportunity to focus on pursuing innovative ways to provide the effective and efficient service that we've always wanted to, and ultimately that will help people in need in our communities succeed. We have spent the last year talking to staff and clients around the state to fully understand the gaps in our current service delivery system. We wanted to know, does the system really work for clients?
We know that workers are bogged down in paperwork on a day-to-day basis, which makes it real difficult to really engage with families when they come in the door to see you and to tell their stories about what their needs are. We know that 80% of our families do work, and we want to embrace that work, and we want to make it easy for them to access our services and continue to be at work when they need to be there as well.
If the policies were a little more streamlined, then it would help the client to understand specifically what it is that we're requesting. And maybe we could just make it simpler and ask for the same thing.
With simpler policies and procedures in place, it makes it easier for the client to tell their story one time, because all the programs and policies are all streamlined to gear towards that one experience.
To me, that's a big thing, because this story is not an easy story to tell. I lost my job. You know, my unemployment stopped. I can't pay my bills. They don't want to say that 3 or 4 different times. You know, if they could say it one time, for the client, it would be awesome, and for the workers, too.
Number 82.
So how do we do that? How do we make it easier for staff members to do their jobs so they can provide better service and better outcomes for our clients?
With work support strategies, what we hope to accomplish and what we're already accomplishing is simplifying our policies, simplifying our procedures, which will lead us to better practice in North Carolina.
The Work Support Strategies Initiative has really put some legs to that concept of streamlining and just working more efficiently.
We want clients to be able to walk in the door, to tell us what their needs are, and for us to be able to say back to them what all they are eligible for. When we're able to provide all of those services in a real holistic way, that families need us for a shorter period of time and are more successful.
Work Support Strategies and NC Fast complement each other very nicely. One, Work Support Strategies being a strategic way of doing business. NC Fast being one of the tools that enables us to put that strategy into work, into play. So they complement each other very nicely.
Outcomes, performance, and a positive customer experience should be the ultimate measures of success. Every new efficiency, every new process, and every new idea we pursue will make this vision a reality for our clients and our team.
One of the key messages that staff should really embrace in this is there's a lot in this project for you.
I think the frontline worker has an awesome responsibility in the work support strategies because that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the work's going on. They're the ones talking to the client. Their input is going to be the most important because they know what needs to be done.
Right now is about change, moving in a positive direction that benefits our clients, our communities, and our staff.
The clients come to us on one of the worst days in their lives. So if you can make that process easier for that client, what more could you ask for?
With support from the state, our local teams are going to be the ones who can drive change. It's a chance to put our great ideas into action.
The Work Support Strategy Initiative helps to keep us accountable because it's data-driven. And when you have that data right out there in your face, it tends to show not only your strengths, but it shows your areas of need as well.
North Carolina is uniquely positioned to be very creative. We have 100 counties that administer these programs and services, which means we have 100 laboratories across our state.
Who's not doing a job and thinks, this could be better if we did it like this? You have to share that.
For frontline staff, this is your opportunity. The ball is in your court. We have lots of good ideas, I think, that we formulated through the planning year, but we know some of our best ideas are yet to be heard.
We've got to work smarter. We've got too many things that need to get done, too many people that we need to help, and we have to do it wisely or it's not going to get done at all.
And it's getting the workers to get outside their box, as well as the county level outside their box, the state level outside their box. And after you think outside your box, everything comes together. And it's always for the better benefit of the client, because that's why we're here.
This is our agency and our state, and this is our opportunity to make it what we've always wanted it to be. Together, we can use this chance to make an even greater impact in the lives of our clients.
So we kind of wanted you to see the vision before we talk about what we're going through right now, because I know you've seen it on television. I actually took the notes in those meetings so that I could educate myself and speak the language, because you will see that 16 pages. It's very technical and sophisticated. But through those meetings where we were able to vent and share a little bit and brainstorm and what works and what doesn't work, that helped us pull together a little bit. We've done a lunch and learn at least one, where a peer shared some techniques, and I believe that peer's here, Vicki Martin. And let me introduce, I brought with me the experts tonight because I thought if you got in the weeds and started asking me hard questions, I wanted them with me. Vicki Martin is one of our workers.
Come up to the podium so
Yes,
people
why
can
don't
see
you
them.
come up? And Trina Riddle. Vicki is a food and nutrition services worker, but we're going to call her a universal worker because she'll be doing all the programs before long. Vicki takes a real lead role, and she did actually conduct a lunch and learn for her peers to help them with some problems that they were having, and we really appreciate her. Trina Riddle is a supervisor. We call her a universal income maintenance supervisor, and we have our other income maintenance supervisors on paternity leave right now, Matt Reese. Those of you who know him, we're really happy for him. He's had a little baby girl. But Trina has the whole entire economic services area right now. So she's quite got her hands full, and she's doing a great job. We also put I didn't put it on the slide, but we put a new window at the front desk. So I'll show it to you in just a minute. I have a slide. If we can go ahead and go to the pictures, Chad. This is, I just wanted to show you, our Catawba County girls come in. It's the simplest of systems. On the left side, going down the wall, are all the things we've left for them, and we've got them in categories of what they are. Here, can you help us with these? On the right side is all the work that they've done, and they move it over to the right side and put it for each worker that needs that work back. So we've got some help coming in to help us.
I like the picture on the wall.
The whining one.
No, I'm talking about the, oh, well.
Oh, okay. I was afraid somebody might notice that little sign there. Yes, that's in Matt's office. The next slide is our kiosks in the lobby, and you can see people sitting there taking advantage of that opportunity there, right there in our lobby. And then the next slide is our new window that we just put in. We have people sitting at the two outside windows. Those are our clerical support staff that sit there and work with folks. But in the middle, we cut out another window where you can actually stand up in between the two people who are sitting there working with clients. If you just have something that you need to hand to someone or just say 2 or 3 words, it's not personal business, or they need to hand us something, we put another window so that we don't get clogged up out there, just to help us a little bit. We're looking at some kind of, we want to go like the hospitals with the little cubes so that people have some privacy in between the windows. But for right now, we've at least added some access. And then the current reality slide. It shows how many help desk tickets that we have up with the state right now. 34 tickets. 4 of them are food and nutrition services. 30 of them are Medicaid. On the bottom part, I'm very happy to report that when I did this, we had 3 pending applications that were on the untimely reports and 5 pending recertifications. As of today, Vicki, we have 0. We have worked all of those cases, gotten everything off the backlog list. Right now, what's going on, the panic with the USDA requirements, the state, as of today, the reports we received, has 5,570 untimely applications and 2,749 untimely recertifications. And of course, an application is when someone first comes in, and a recertification is when they get their benefits recertified. Those are numbers that'll have to be cleaned up for the state of North Carolina. As you've seen on the news, we have $80 million at risk, $80 million of administrative funding to operate the Food Nutrition Services Program.
Cindy, what does help desk tickets, what does that mean?
It's state folks who operate a help desk, and we call them and we tell them, we cannot get this case to go through.
So you
Here's
throw them
what's
over the fence
going
to
on.
them and you're
That's
waiting
right.
for them to send them back to you.
And they're supposed to be, most of the time, they just give us steps to go through ourselves. So we'll learn what it was that hung that case up in CFAST and be able to do it ourselves. But sometimes they have to fix them for us.
What could be a problem? I mean, just give me an example of what would hold up a case, like not a signature on something, or?
If we put, maybe if someone doesn't give us, they give us, maybe we put a name in wrong, or one number got transposed in a social security number, or a, Vicki, give us some examples. Step up here.
Some of the things that we see in a help desk ticket, when you go to submit an application, if on that report that she gave you there, it gives you steps, like if you have a blank screen, once you've put the people in, you have statistics for each person in a case that you have to put in. So if the marital status doesn't come up, then that can cause a problem, and then it can hang that case up. Or for some reason, if you have the wrong child on this case, if you have two children with this same similar name, and you've gotten one that was in the already in the Medicaid system, the old system, and they're pulling some of them over now, and when some of them come over, your name over here may have had a middle initial, and when you put it in NC-FAST, it doesn't have a middle initial. So some of the glitches are coming together. They just haven't all come together yet.
Okay.
And so some of those get stuck, and we can't. We try to get them out, but if we can't get them out, we have to do a help desk ticket so that they can get that one out for us.
I just wondered what it was, that would hold it up, like misinformation. They give you
Not
wrong
usually,
information.
not usually. It's usually a systemic, or it can be a keying error. And quite honestly, we would never say that we've never made a mistake. We certainly are human beings, and we do make some mistakes sometimes. But lots of defects in the system, like she said, a middle initial over here and none over here. And when the two systems merge, it just causes the case to get trapped. We've had notices to go out that were incorrect, a few. We've had,
48,000.
those were Medicaid cards. But there are good people. I do not want to not acknowledge that there are people really working hard on the other end of this problem. As Affordable Care Act rolls out, there are so many different programs within the Medicaid system. We've only rolled food and nutrition services so far. So the likelihood is that things will get worse before they get better. But we're working hard on our end. We do want you to know that we're doing everything that we can to make sure North Carolina meets the USDA requirements. And there is some good news and some bad news. The next slide. The one thing is that on our Medicaid positions, we have always gotten 50-50 funding, and that's 50% federal and state, 50% county funding match for those positions. We have learned that we're going to get 75-25, which means 75% of the positions will be paid for. And as we look at that, we will certainly try to assess whether there is the ability for us to hire another person. And I know that will be a sticky point in a budget and an economy like we have. But if we can show you that we can pay for it, we're going to ask for your support. And we've been told to ask for your support. We've been through the County Commissioners Association, through the county manager. Rick and I've sat in on some telephone calls. We're going to be looking at that and trying to get this work done, body of work done. The bad news is that, of course, is the one I've been telling you about, is that we are threatened by some USDA guidelines, and if we lose a lot of money, we won't be hiring any new workers, and we might have another situation on our hands. I think you have in your packet a copy of a letter that's dated January the 30th. Do you see it? To Dear County Directors of Social Services.
Is it dated January 24th?
The 30th, January 30th. It's from the governor, a memo acknowledged by the secretary and the governor. And it gave us some real specific guidelines. Lots of counties worked all weekend, this past weekend. You see in here some really strong language director should mandate that, in addition to overtime work hours, that staff be held accountable for meeting productivity standards. It goes in and tells us that we should, look down here at the bottom of the page, number 1, contact clients to obtain missing information. So we're going to go out and find people who have not returned their information in to complete an application for services. We're going to have to go out and hunt them. That sounded crazy to us at first, but if we're to meet these standards for the USDA, I mean, this morning, if we couldn't get these applications off the list, we were prepared to send some of our social workers into the field to try to locate the folks, but thankfully, our very resourceful staff were able to resolve those cases. So,
What if them
there's-
people left the state or died or are hiding from the law or something like that?
well, we would not be able to process those cases, and they would run untimely, and eventually we would close them and deny them and close them. But
You
we're
have to hunt people like that?
we've not been asked to do that in the past, and I don't think they're asking us to go out of state or anything like that. But what they're saying to us is, find these people, get these applications finished, so that we can meet these USDA guidelines. We don't want North Carolina to lose $80 million in funding.
No, we don't, but I'm just saying, don't these people have some obligation in this thing? If they come in and start an application, I mean,
Absolutely, and that is the way we've always approached our work in the past. I think there's just, for lack of a better word, we're freaking out a little bit because of this threat of losing this amount of funding and being able to push forward. And for our staff, who have worked so hard to get to the point we are, to go backward would be just such a really hard thing for them to deal with. Not to mention that we need to move as a system into, a better situation with paperwork and with being able to serve our consumers. And you saw in the video, you saw them call number 82 and they went back for their Medicaid application. They went back and sat in the lobby. Number 82, they went back and did their F&S. They went back to the lobby. Number 82, they went back and did their child care application. That really happens right now. So the whole point of this is that we don't treat people like that. Can you imagine being there all day and telling your name and your social security number and your address and the demographic information all those times, and without some kind of automated system where we can share all that information, we're never going to get out of that.
I don't mean to interrupt, but it just seems kind of stupid that it's not been done a long time before now.
Thank you, Ryan. You are correct. It makes perfect sense. You heard Sherry Bradshaw, who was on the tape at the time. She was the director of the Division of Social Services. She's now the deputy secretary, and she facilitated that phone call Saturday night. That's how worried they are about us getting where we need to be.
the
But
80
you are
million, is that state funds or federal?
Federal.
Federal
That's
funds.
federal funds that they're threatening the state not to
Correct.
get, not Alexander County.
I got an email this afternoon from your association, the County Commissioners Association, asking, and I'll be completing this. It asks a lot of questions about how many hours of overtime, how much salary have we paid to part-time employees, how much additional equipment. We've bought scanners. We have bought equipment. How much space have we had to have? How many people have we reassigned to help with work? And we'll be responding to that, and all the 100 county directors have been asked to do that. So we'll be letting them know what a burden it has been for us to be able to move through this. But we do still see it as a partnership. I do not go, I've told you this and I've told my board many times, I don't go around, putting the system down. We need this system. And the other thing is for my staff who are trying to negotiate all this change, if I'm negative about it, how do they come to work every day and deal with the system and the amount of change that they're dealing with? So we're trying to keep positive and upbeat. We can do it. So far, we've done a really good job. Our staff, your staff in the county are wonderful people. They are not there just to do a job. It's a mission to them, and they care about the people. They don't cry over the system being down. What they cry is when they got somebody that calls them and says, I don't have any food, and I've got 3 kids in my house, and what am I gonna do? That's when they cry, is when they can't get the benefits out there. So we hope you'll keep us in your thoughts as we move through this process. Do either one of you ladies want to say anything else? I do want to just, these folks have worked so hard. Last week, we rolled out FEMA money for the county. We only get half at a time. We got about a little over $17,000. You get half, and you have to spend half, and then you call and you do the paperwork, and then you get your other half. That's the way it works. We spent our half in one day. That's what the need is in this community. We spent $8,900 for food in one day. Today, we took 120 low-income energy assistance applications. We opened it up today. It has been open for 60 and older and disabled adults since December the 1st, but today we opened it up to the rest of the community. We took 120 applications today for LEAP services. So the need is great in the community. NC Fast is a way for us, if we can work through all the defects and the kinks and keep on plugging away, it's a way for us to get our work accomplished in a more efficient manner. So
Do more with less.
yes.
We appreciate everything you guys do. I know it's a tough job, and it's got to be mentally draining sometimes for the caseworkers. And we understand that. We want to thank you, and you guys do a great job with what you have. And I know you really care about your jobs. I know that. So thank you very much.
Cindy, thanks, and thank you ladies too for what you do.
Thank you.
Any questions of anybody?
No, just keep positive.
Thank you. We will.
You'll never get there if you don't.
I see David's still back there. David, you ready? This is David Icenhour, the Economic Development Director. Economic Development Incentive Policy Amendment. And David, to let you know, we will not vote on this tonight. We'll just let you make a preliminary overview of it.
Very fine. Commissioners, you have before you a copy of the county's Economic Development Incentive Policy. The text that you have before you, the black text, of course, represents your existing policy, and the red text represents the proposed changes to the policy. Now, this policy has been in effect for a number of years in Alexander County, and of course, the intention is to create new jobs and investment in Alexander County. It's targeted for industries moving into Alexander County or existing industries. And, excuse me, the way the policy works is we look at 3 factors from a company. We look at the new taxable investment, the number of jobs created, and the average weekly pay for those jobs. Those 3 factors go into a formula, and then the board has the opportunity to award a grant to a company based on those 3 factors. One of the issues that we've run into is while this policy does reward job creation, it does not fully recognize the value of job retention. And I think you heard the value of job retention earlier tonight. So one of the 2 changes that I have proposed for the board to consider is in relation to job retention. So what this policy change would do is that it would automatically award a level 1 grant to any company in Alexander County that invests at least $1 million in new equipment, new building, technology that would assist them in remaining competitive in their market and thus retaining jobs. So a level 1 grant would mean a 5-year property tax grant to a company starting at 80% return and then reducing 10% each year for the 5-year period. So just to give you for example, if it were $1 million investment, for example, at your current tax rate, you awarded a company a 5-year level 1 grant, that would mean roughly $18,000 grant to a company over a 5-year period. In the big scheme of things, It's not a tremendous amount of money to a company, but the policy you have now does not reward a company strictly for job retention. As we look at these proposed changes, Commissioners, I'm not going to read the entire policy to you. If you have questions as I'm going through this, please stop me. But that section is really the gist of the proposed changes for job retention policy for economic development incentives. The other proposed change is in relation to tourism, and we have talked about the need for tourism, promoting tourism in Alexander County for quite some time. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we all know that tourism does create jobs, and it does create sales tax revenue for counties. And as you can see in some of the editorial justification, I guess, in the policy, for 2012, Alexander County ranked 86th out of the 100 counties for tourism spending. Every other county around us, even though I think we could argue that surrounding counties have similar qualities in terms of tourism, they outrank us fairly significantly in tourism dollars spent in those counties. So the intent of this policy, again, is to provide some incentive for new businesses to locate in Alexander County and create tourism opportunities. I think we have, great qualities in this county that lend itself to increased tourism. So what this policy would allow the board to do is any project that would invest at least $500,000 of new taxable investment in Alexander County, it would give the board the opportunity to award that business a property tax grant up to a 10-year period. And the way we would propose that you handle this, of course, is with tourism. Tourism is not quite as cut and dried as looking at an industrial project, because tourism, the problem we have with your existing policy in providing tourism incentives is that quite often, as you know, tourism jobs, for example, can be seasonal. They can be just typically lower paying than, say, an industrial job, so it makes it harder for them to qualify for your existing policy. This gives you more flexibility in encouraging tourism in Alexander County. In order to award these grants, whether it be for the industrial side or for the tourism, of course, we'll have a public hearing. We'll present all this to the board in public hearing, and the board can make your decision based on the policy guidelines. There is a detailed agreement that has to be signed between the company and Alexander County. These agreements are already in place in terms of they've been established by the county attorney, and we basically just use the same agreement for each time we do an incentive. So we'll take that same agreement and adopt it for tourism if the board chooses to do so. And with that, Commissioners, I will be glad to try to answer any questions you may have about these proposed changes to the policy.
David, one, if you look at the, if you want to call them bullet points, the one with arrows beside them, the one that really stands out to me is a tourism grant, if you will, for lodging. Because as we know in the Citizens of the Future of Alexander County, that came to the top of one of the things that we need in this county is lodging for tourists, because there's no place for tourists to stay and spend money in the county. Because if they're going to visit Burkie Face, if they're going to visit the Midnight Mine or go to the Lucas Mansion, where do they stay? They go to Hickory, Statesville, Hickory, so forth. So that's one that stands out in my mind, if we can attract lodging to Alexander County.
Yes, sir.
And with the opening of the new visitor center at the Midnight Center, the Alexander County Visitor Center, hopefully we're moving in the right direction as far as tourism goes. We're 86th out of 100 counties, so basically we've only got up, that's the only direction to go.
Thanks for putting this together, David, and I know we'll talk about it more.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions, other questions, David?
Well, I would like to ask David, in the past, have we done any of this?
In terms of tourism?
No,
Or-
giving any grants?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, who
Yes.
was it for?
Well, over the past 10 years, we have awarded a total of about 10 incentive grants.
I mean,
Paragon Films, Mitchell Gold, Snyder Mills, Composite Fabrics of America, Liberty Reload, Lake Norman Propane.
okay. And for
And
instance.
all of those were already, well, except for Paragon, of course, the first one for Paragon, they moved into the county, but all the other grants were for existing companies already here.
Like Lake Norman propane,
Mhm.
what type incentive did we give them for what? They don't have any employees, do they?
Yeah, well, that's an old grant. Now, that one has already run its course, but they invested a certain amount of money in new property down there and created,
Yeah,
at the time, it may have been 5 jobs. I mean, it's been quite a few years since we did that one, but there was new investment and job creation that qualified them for that grant.
David, not to put you on the spot, but
Yes, sir.
how many millions has Paragon invested in the county? Do you
Yeah,
recall?
roughly 20 million.
20? I think the last investment was what, 12?
Well, they did about approximately 10 each time.
10,
10
okay.
when they came here and 10 on their expansion.
Okay. Now, how many employees are they at now?
They're at approximately 45
45.
to 50.
Any other questions of David? David, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to turn it over to County Manager Rick French, board appointments and reappointments.
Thank you. Equalization Review Board, reappoint Doug Ramsey, David Odom, Linda Barnett, Bobby Norton, Ron Roseman, Darrell Robertson as the alternate for one-year terms. Library Board of Trustees, appoint Margot Elder, reappoint Doris Stevens for 3 years. Western Piedmont Council of Government, Sister Cities Association, reappoint Dwight Shook, David Icenhour, alternate. Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, appoint Jason Williams, Rick French, Jack Sims for 2-year terms. Senior Center Advisory Committee, appoint Diane Collingsworth. Smoky Mountain Center Board member nominations are included in your packet. Be glad to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Move to approve?
Second.
Before we do that,
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on any of these appointments? Mr. Mayberry, go ahead.
I move to approve all these nominations as presented.
Second.
We have a first and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Consider these appointments approved. The next item on the agenda is budget ordinance amendments 25 through 27 and project budget ordinance P-3. County Manager Rick French.
Thank you again. Budget amendment number 25 is to increase the senior center budget for extra help grant from the Senior Center Insurance Information Program, that's the SHIP program, and to decrease the TECS program estimated revenue due to amended contract with no services for intensive outpatients substance abuse treatment. Number 26 is to budget for payment of the NCDENR loan fee for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, DWSRF loan out of the Bethlehem Water Fund, with the loan reimbursement proceeds allowed per the reimbursement resolution. And that was in something you passed earlier last meeting. The budget amendment number 27 is to increase the general fund budget for Alexander County matching portion of the NC Commerce grant for the Craftmaster Furniture Building Renovation Grant Project, and that's something you heard earlier tonight. Project ordinance P-3 is for the Craftmaster Furniture Building Renovation Grant Project. I'll be glad to answer any questions for any of those budget amendments.
Any questions from the board? Do I hear a motion to approve these amendments?
Move to approve?
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Budget amendments 25 through 27 and project budget ordinance P3 have been approved. And item number 11 on the agenda is County Manager Rick French, County Manager's report.
Thank you again. Just a couple things to mention. One, just to provide you an update, and I'll start giving you these reports, and I'll stop reading this, but here are the numbers for animal control. For January 2014, we had 134 intakes. We had 7 adoptions. We had 4 animals returned to owner. We had 94 animals rescued and euthanized 19 animals, 11 of those cats. So that's a good improvement. Also, we'll send you information. We have a number of people that are volunteering and very active with helping us out at the shelter, and we appreciate their assistance. I'd included a memo in your agenda packets, and really what I'd like to ask is if we could schedule a finance meeting on February 17th. I'm not sure if it could be here or at the county building, but if we could do February 17th at 6 o'clock. And I would need you to, if you're inclined to do so, is to, you'll need to make a motion to add the meeting date and time.
Tell me that again, I'm sorry.
February 17th at 6 o'clock. It'll either be here at CVCC or at the County Administration Building in the basement.
That would include all of us.
Yes, it'll be all of us.
Okay, I make a motion that we have the finance meeting on February 17th at 6 o'clock in the County Administration Building. You're talking about in the room in the basement, is that correct?
Yeah, or we might can do it here. So I'd rather do it here if we can arrange it here because of the visuals we could do.
Well, that's fine,
Okay.
that's fine. I'll make that motion that we have it here at 6 o'clock on the 17th of February.
Second, if available.
Any discussion? So we will have a Finance Committee meeting on February 17th at 6 o'clock at the CVCC.
That's President's Day, too.
County Commissioners Room.
Take a vote.
Vote.
Yeah, I am. If you
I'm
just
sorry.
give me a minute to look at my calendar, so, all in favor? Do I hear a motion to approve that, motion?
Andrew seconded that motion.
Second, Andrew. All in favor, raise your right hand. Approved. So our meeting will be at 6 o'clock on the 17th. Mr. French, that is a public meeting, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Just want to know for our friends from the press whether or not they were
Certainly.
invited. Okay. Next thing on the agenda, Mr. French, are you through with the consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
With other business? The next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
And I second it.
Any discussion? There's been a first and second. All in favor, raise your right hand to approve. The consent agenda has been approved. The next is adjournment into closed session. North Carolina General Statutes 143-318-11, parentheses A, parentheses 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 to prevent disclosure of confidential information, degrees, prizes, or awards, economic development, contractual, and personnel. And we will adjourn out of that closed session, come back into open session to adjourn the meeting. And do I hear a motion to move into closed session?
So move.
And I second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Meeting's adjourned.